The pregnant woman raised her camera, ready to capture a sweet moment between her husband and daughters. But at that very second, the railing behind her cracked and gave way without warning. She had no time to react. As she fell, her only thought was for the baby in her womb. She summoned every ounce of strength to cry out for help, but by then, it was already too late. William and Anna had the kind of marriage everyone envied. Both of them had been married before, and Anna came with a pair of twin daughters. But William never held that against her. In fact, he treated the girls as his own. Not long after the wedding, Anna became pregnant with their first child together. William moved his wife and daughters into a new home, and both of them were glowing with happiness, eagerly imagining what the house would look like once the renovations were done. While standing on the balcony checking out the new place, William noticed the railing seemed a little loose, but he didn't think much of it. Figured he'd deal with it later during the remodel. To bond with his two stepdaughters, he laid down in a pile of sand and let the girls bury him bit by bit. Laughter filled the whole yard, and Anna picked up her camera to capture the moment. And suddenly, a terrified scream shattered the joyful scene. William jumped up to check and found Anna sprawled on the ground. He rushed her to the hospital right away. Luckily, aside from the baby being born prematurely because of the fall, both Anna and the baby were out of danger. William finally breathed a sigh of relief, but after giving birth, Anna started acting strangely detached. She kept insisting she'd been carrying twins, so why was there only one baby? Watching his wife grow thinner and more worn down by the day, William was heartbroken. He stayed by her side almost every minute, carefully tending to her emotional state. After running tests, the doctor concluded that Anna was likely suffering from postpartum depression. Before long, it was time for their son's 1-month celebration. Friends and family came over to celebrate. In the middle of the lively gathering, the arrival of their neighbor John caught William's attention. John pulled out an elegant necklace as a gift for Anna, and then actually put it on her himself. Anna, however, acted completely at ease, as if the two had known each other for years. That overly familiar gesture left a bad taste in William's mouth, but with all the guests around, he had to swallow his frustration and let it slide. Late that night, a strange noise came from downstairs. William followed the sound and found Anna clawing at the wall. She looked like she was sleepwalking, completely unresponsive to his calls. The next morning, William tracked down John, hoping to learn more about Anna's past. John revealed that Anna had actually been struggling with depression for years, that her emotional state had long been unstable, and that she needed medication to keep it under control. The artistic photo hanging on the wall had been taken by Anna's cousin. He'd later died in an accident and left her a beachside villa in his will, though Anna had never actually stayed there. That day, just as William was about to head out, a package unexpectedly showed up at the door. He hastily dropped it by the entrance and rushed off. What he didn't realize was that this seemingly small decision would become the biggest regret of his life. When William got home from his business trip, the house had been completely ransacked. Even worse, his newborn son and his mentally fragile wife were nowhere to be found. Staring at the empty stroller and the scattered belongings all over the floor, William's heart started pounding. He had a sinking feeling, as if something dangerous was lurking in the shadows, ready to strike at any moment. That is when the delivery package on the floor caught his eye. He tore it open and found photos of Anna with another man, along with several mysterious film negatives. Just as he was about to get them developed, the phone rang. When he picked up, his twin stepdaughters said something bizarre that William couldn't make sense of. In the background, he could hear waves crashing against the shore. It hit him instantly. The cousins' beachside villa. Anna and the baby had to be there. William raced to the coast, followed the sound of the waves, and soon spotted the twins playing nearby. The two girls pushed the stroller up to the doorway and then ran off. Looking at the mountain of junk piled inside the stroller, William felt a wave of dread wash over him. He frantically dug through the pile, only to find his son buried underneath, already suffocated to death. He clutched the baby and broke down sobbing, while Anna just sat on the ground, motionless. Choking back his grief, William desperately tried to get her to explain what had happened, and why their son had met such a tragic end. But Anna didn't say a word. As night fell, William buried his son with his own hands, overwhelmed with grief. Even though he still had a million questions about what had happened, all he could do for now was get his wife out of that place. But just as they stepped out the door, a bearded man suddenly appeared in front of them. The moment Anna saw him, she rushed over and hugged him tightly, like he was her lifeline. The whole scene left William even more confused. Back home, Anna's mother came to visit her daughter and dropped a bombshell. Years ago, when Anna was 14, she'd been assaulted by her cousin's photography assistant. What she was suffering from wasn't ordinary postpartum depression. It was severe schizophrenia. While Anna was recovering at home in a mentally chaotic state, John quietly snuck into her room. He pulled out some questionable pills and gave them to her, wearing a look on his face that spoke volumes. Then, whenever William was away from home, John assaulted her. Meanwhile, William was wandering the streets alone, replaying the string of strange events in his mind. Suddenly, a stranger approached him from behind. William instinctively swung a punch, only to realize this was the same man he'd run into at the beach house. Through tears, the man explained that he'd been thrown in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He wasn't the photography assistant who had hurt Anna at all. He was just an old friend of hers. More than a decade earlier, someone had secretly snapped a photo of them coming back from an outing together, and he'd been framed and locked up. Now, he'd finally been released. With that, the man pulled out an old photograph. On the finger of the photography assistant in the picture was a ring identical to the one John wore. At the same time, something seemed to click in Anna's mind. She hurriedly opened a box she hadn't touched in years, which held photos from the assault all those years ago. Studying the details, she suddenly recognized the ring on the assailant's hand, the exact same one John always wore. The monster had been right beside them all along, and he was still hurting Anna. Furious, William confronted John face to face with the photo. Out of nowhere, John pulled out a gun, but the moment the shot rang out, it was John who collapsed in a pool of blood. Anna had shown up and pulled the trigger. In that instant, she was crystal clear, her eyes filled with years of buried rage. In the end, Anna herself put an end to the monster, who had tormented her for so long.